Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 7 of the Just Sayin Podcast. As you can see, it looks a little different.
Yes, sir.
We're out in T-Town in Tuscaloosa, Alabama for, of course, the Texas-Bama game. That's one of the games we're going to preview here in a second. But today, we're going to be talking about our updated top 25s, how we've done our best bets. You know, we need to change the name of that because it is not
needs to be
best
more
bets.
we got to figure out the name of that segment. But as you guys can see, we got the beautiful backdrop of my apartment here. Not too beautiful, but beautiful Tuscaloosa. We're getting ready for the big game this weekend. Got college game day. I'll hopefully be on the front row, so I've been preparing for that a little bit. So let's talk about some football.
Yeah.
We're going to get right into our Week 2 previews here, but I want to save Texas-Alabama for last. We know that's obviously the marquee matchup of the weekend. But let's start off in Athens. Ball State versus Georgia. We got to talk about Georgia since we've got Jake here. Jake, just give us your overall feel on the game. I mean, we kind of know what the outcome's going to be, but a 42-point spread for Georgia is a pretty big spread.
See, I actually don't know what the outcome's going to be. I can't decide. Because I think it can be a 24-point game. Obviously, we know that Georgia's going to win by 20 plus probably. But I don't know if we win by 24 and it's an ugly game. Ball State played pretty well against Kentucky, and they have a decent team. Ended up losing by 30. Or we could completely win by 50. I mean, it depends. We had a few guys out, a few guys suspended for the last game. So we'll see how they come back and how they play. Of course, they're the starters. They're the ones expected to show out. But, I mean, it is going to be their first game. Like, Ladd McConkey, I think he's expected to play. He could be out again. Marcus Rosemy-Jack Smile Mondin did play last game, but very limited to snaps. So there's going to be a few guys in there. I'm excited to see how it goes. It's 11 Central kickoff here. So yeah. I'll be watching that at 11 till about 2. I'm excited for it. Again, I really don't know how it's going to go. I hope we look good. I hope we come out the gates hot and not 3 and out on 2 out of our first 3 drives like we did against UT Martin. But, it is what it is.
A quick note on the Ball State. They've lost their last 4 games they've played. Probably about to make that 5.
Who have they played?
Last 4 matchups have been Kentucky, Miami, Ohio, and Toledo. And they've lost all 4 of those matchups.
They beat Kent State last year, though.
They did beat Kent State.
Kent State was a good team last year.
They were.
Their whole team left to go to Power 5s.
Yeah, and they even had a quarterback that went to the NFL in Dustin Crum. So that's to, speak on Kent State a little bit. But I actually got the chance to cover Ball State, Georgia State in 2021, the Magnolia Bowl. I covered that. I met Mike New, Ball State head coach. Great guy. But being a great guy is not going to save him from the Bulldogs this weekend. So we'll have Georgia big in that game, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and get over to Nebraska, Colorado. Besides Texas, Alabama, my game of the week. Just because you don't know what was going to happen with Deion. When we were looking at this line, it was 3.5 Colorado. Since then, it's actually gone down to 3. So looks like Vegas might be a little bit higher on Nebraska or just lower on Colorado than most people think. This is in Colorado. The Big Ten noon kickoff thing should be there. It'll be an 11 a.m. kick Central Time. ESPN's actually giving Nebraska almost a 59% chance to win this game. Colorado's first home game, Deion's first home game. Currently, the cheapest ticket you can get is $315.
That's insane.
When would we have ever thought the Buffaloes would have?
Do you know their capacity of their?
I think it's like 50,000. So it's not a huge stadium, but it's going to be a packed house on Saturday.
53,000. That's insane.
Yeah. So
for 360.
Yeah, it's going to be a packed house on Saturday. Can't wait to watch what if Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter can kind of replicate what they did last week, especially against a much better defense in Nebraska than obviously TCU. But I also want to see if Colorado's got any kind of defense. Period. Because we didn't see that last week.
As you know, I was big on Nebraska. They were my sleeper team. Honestly, they played better than I thought they would against Minnesota. I didn't necessarily have them pegged to win that game. This game's big. Colorado is now ranked in the top 25, ranked 22. They got a lot of hype around them. Yeah. A lot of hype. And so let's see how they play. Because, I know they won at TCU. Shedeur played well. Travis Hunter played well. Jimmy Horn played well. That defense did not look that great. against a TCU offense that lost everyone.
Yeah.
And so I know everyone's hyping them up. Let's see what they can do against Nebraska, who might be a better team than TCU. We'll see. I don't know how that will play out. I'm just excited to watch the game.
Me too. And I think both of us were pretty high on Jeff Sims, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Sims disappointed us major.
3 interceptions.
Big time in week 1. So can Jeff Sims bounce back against a worse defense? We'll see. We know how talented he is as a runner. He's just got to put it together as a passer. I mean, he only had 114 yards passing, a touchdown, and like you said, 3 interceptions. So he's got to have a good game if the Cornhuskers are going to come out of this one with a win, and possibly their first one under Matt Rule. So, and that's a big thing I didn't even think of till now. 2 first-year head coaches going at it, Matt Rule and Deion Sanders. So
2 prominent figures in college football.
So yeah, definitely. Unless you're a Georgia fan and you want to watch the Georgia Ball State game, your TVs need to be on Fox at 11 a.m. Central, 12 o'clock Eastern to watch Nebraska Colorado.
I'm going to find a TV with that game on, and I'm going to have Georgia Ball State on my phone.
I'm sure at our tailgate on Saturday we will have that game on. But another really good game this weekend that we talked about earlier this week that's being overlooked. Ole Miss at Tulane. Yulman Stadium in Baton Rouge in New Orleans. Ole Miss came out on fire last week, winning 73-7. Jackson Dart looked amazing. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins is the guy to watch, carrying the football. But man, Michael Pratt, 14 of 15 for 294 and 4 tutties last week.
Let me ask you a question: who has a better QB this game?
I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. I
so?
think Jackson Dart's a better QB. I'm a lot higher on Jackson Dart than most people are. Though.
I don't know.
So
Michael Pratt's good.
Michael Pratt's
really good. He
very
led
good.
them to a bowl win over USC last year. Starting out the year hot, 14 for 15, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. So,
in a game that we spotlighted too against South Alabama. So you never know. I mean, Tulane, obviously the best Group of 5 team last year. If they knock off the Rebels, that's something I think that would shock a lot of people and definitely put their season in hyperdrive mode.
Especially because Ole Miss, is that your 3rd-ranked SEC West team?
I think so. I think they are. Yeah,
they're my 3rd-ranked.
Yeah.
I knew that.
So I expect a lot of things from the Rebels this year. I mean, obviously, I would say SEC West contention possibly, but I don't expect anything more than that. But I mean, 9-3 is probably a really good year for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, and that's kind of what I'm expecting. And I expect them to win this game.
They got to get past this game though.
Yeah. I expect them to pull it out. They're 6.5-point favorites on the road. Now that line is tricky. Well, do you think that they'll cover that line, or do you think that? Or do you pick Tulane to win outright?
See, I'm staying away from that bet, but if I have to pick,
man, it's a tough one.
I'm going Ole Miss to cover. I guess. I think they win by maybe 10. I just don't think they have Tulane has the defense to stay with the speed of the SEC.
Yeah,
and they can stick with the speed of the Pac-12, but doesn't really compare to SEC.
Well, former members of the SEC, Tulane, looking to get back at Ole Miss. I've also got the Rebels covering. I think that Jackson Dart's a lot better than what people give him credit for, and obviously Quinshon Judkins is just a nightmare to cover.
It is going to be a close game, though.
It will be a close game. It will be a close game. So definitely 2:30 Central Time. Turn y'all's TVs to that game as well. But here's a conflict with the 2:30 Central Time. Texas A&M versus Miami. We're gonna find out if Texas A&M is for real or not.
No, we're not.
I personally think Texas A&M is gonna have a good season. Obviously, Jake does not agree, and I also think Miami is a lot better than what people give them credit for. I think this is a really good quarterback match. In all honesty, I mean, you have to admit that Tyler Van Dyke is a pretty good quarterback, one of the better ones in the ACC. And then also, I think Wegman has the potential to be a great quarterback in the SEC.
I agree.
So I think this quarterback matchup is super underrated. It's a close line. ESPN's actually giving Miami a 56% chance to win this game. Obviously playing at Miami, and we know crowds really never a factor there. Miami fans, they don't really show out much.
I don't know the last time they sold out a stadium.
Yeah, I think the fans are almost dead at this point. It's just kind of. It's honestly insane that the fans don't show up.
For me, though, we don't find out who's back this game. We find out who is definitely not back and who's bad. I mean, both of these teams, in my opinion, are overrated 100%, especially A&M. I don't know why they're ranked in the top 25. They're the only ones that can go 5-7 and still get ranked in the preseason top 25 the next season. Outside of like the Blue Bloods, but the Blue Bloods aren't going to go 5-7. Anyway, Miami also getting a lot of hype, especially if they win this game. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be ranked in the top 25, even though they shouldn't be. But I mean, two QBs who have a lot of potential. I know Tyler Van Dyke, this is probably his last year, but he showed a lot of potential 2 years ago. Didn't play well last year. Interested to see how he does. But, I mean, this is one of my best bets, so I don't want to spoil what I have in the future. But I'm interested to see how this game goes. Definitely going to watch this one as well.
Well, think about it. There's two things that can be highlighted from this game. With the recent downfall of Clemson to Duke, could Miami be that second team in the ACC this year if they win this game and continue on? I mean, obviously Florida State looked great in their opener, beating LSU. But Florida State hasn't been on this stage. I mean, and obviously neither has Miami. But Florida State hasn't been on the stage where they were the premier team in the ACC. So this is uncharted territory for them. Who's to say Miami can't join the fold and maybe spoil some fun this year for the Seminoles?
Talking about two SEC teams who play decent out of conference opponents. SEC started 0-3 last week against teams like this. I mean, it was against Power 5 teams. I want to change it this week because Tulane's not Power 5, but they're better than Miami.
Yeah.
Anyway, so imagine if Ole Miss and A&M both lose these games.
Or if Alabama loses, too.
And Alabama loses.
Yeah.
Imagine Alabama loses and SEC starts out 0-6.
That wouldn't be good.
Power 5 / Tulane. Because I want to put Tulane up in there.
One more storyline. What does this say about the head coach of the losing team? Because there's been a lot of fire on Jimbo, obviously, about his buyout is huge. Don't get me wrong. I think it's in the 100 millions. But think about all the money that Texas A&M fans possess and those donors that they have. I mean, if they really wanted Jimbo out of town, they could pay the buyout, $77 million. So they could pay the buyout if they really wanted to. I think he's recruiting at a great clip. The thing is, he's just got to keep those guys in house, which he's had a little bit of a struggle with.
I mean, the thing you can say to that though, I mean, whenever he had the number 1 recruiting class with like 9 5-stars, were those just cancers to the locker room? Because what I've heard,
a lot of those guys transferred too.
That's what I'm saying. What I've heard and what you can anticipate is that they were, and they are, because I think 3 or 4 of those guys have now been kicked off their second team.
Yeah.
Like Chris Marshall
Denver Harris.
Chris Marshall at TCU. Not Chris Marshall. Who's the other 5-star receiver? Oh yeah, it is Chris Marshall. Kicked off from TCU. Denver Harris wasn't kicked off at LSU.
But he's having some issues.
Deion Bowie kicked off at Georgia, and then a few other guys here and there.
But also, I mean, what does it say about Cristobal if he loses? Because I mean, he left a prime position at Oregon. I thought he was doing great at Oregon. Obviously came down to Miami for his alma mater. What if he loses? I mean,
I think it's safe to say Oregon definitely won that trade.
I think so too.
But
I like Cristobal though. I think he's a great coach. He was a great O-line coach when he was at Alabama. Obviously, it's just his second year at Miami. Jimbo's got no excuse. I mean, this is year 6 or 7 for Jimbo. He's got no excuse at any. He's got every tool in the book. Mm-hmm. They should be competing for national championships. And just SEC
they should be
SEC championships in general.
But they don't do that.
So I know they were in the same division as Alabama and LSU, but that's really no excuse. Cristobal would have more of an excuse if he lost, just because it's year 2. He still has to get his guys in there, and you don't really want to replace guys that you lost with transfer portal guys, especially if you're a recruiting-minded head coach. And at a place like Miami with all that talent in Florida. So.
In my opinion, whoever loses this game, that coach is going to be on the chopping block here shortly. Jimbo Fisher, it's weird because he has a buyout of $77 million. So I don't think they fire him by the end of the year just because that's so much money.
It's a lot.
But Mario Cristobal, I can't imagine he has the highest buyout. So
you said you were going to predict this game here in a little bit, so we'll skip that.
Yeah.
And we'll get to our game of the week. Obviously, number 11 Texas Longhorns coming into to Tuscaloosa. They're probably here now. It's Friday.
I drove 4.5 hours for this.
Yeah. Number 3, Alabama Crimson Tide taking on Texas. ESPN giving Alabama an 81% chance to win. That does not make me feel good at all. I think it's like a 7-point spread at the moment.
It's gone up half a point?
I think
It
it
was
was
6
all
and a half.
okay. Then yeah, I guess it has gone up half a point. But former Alabama offensive coordinator and former head coach, part-time head coach Steve Sarkisian is welcome back into Tuscaloosa. Didn't know you knew that. Didn't know if you knew that, but Sarkisian is 1-0 as a head coach at the University of Alabama, beating the Auburn Tigers in 2020 when he took over for Saban when Saban had COVID.
I didn't know that.
So Sarkisian's 1-0. Obviously, what's the line or the player that needs going to be highlighted the most in this game? It's going to be Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback. Impressive showing against Middle Tennessee State. With that being said, it was Middle Tennessee State. This week is the true test. I'm feeling very confident in this game for whatever reason. I don't know why I feel so confident, but I feel like Alabama's going to pull this win out. But that also, my confidence is scaring me because it's could possibly let up for a complete disaster. And
do you think this game is sloppy or clean all the way?
So obviously last year very sloppy.
Sloppy.
I think this game will start off pretty sloppy, but second half team Alabama I feel like is going to be a second half team the way they want to play this year.
Yeah,
they're going to clean it up. They're going to figure it out. I think. Do what?
Sorry,
and I think Alabama's going to prevail in the second half. I've been telling all my friends this week, I think Texas is going to go into halftime with the lead. I actually would expect that. I think they're a team that kind of is going to come out more hot early, especially with their passing game. They could exploit Alabama's secondary a little bit with 2 injuries. We still don't know if Malachi Moore is going to play, and Jalen Key is doubtful.
I've heard Malachi Moore is probably going to play.
If I had to guess, I would think Malachi Moore is going to play. What percentage is he going to be playing at, though, is the question. And then Jalen Key.
How many snaps is he going to play?
Right, and then Jalen Key, if he plays, are they going to exploit that? I doubt Jalen Key plays. If I really had to bet from all my intel that I've been gathering, he's been in a black non-contact jersey in practice with a heavy brace. Hasn't really run any drills, pretty much just bike exercises. So I wouldn't expect to see him. So obviously in his place, Christian Story, the tenured safety, will be back there, in the free safety spot.
In this game, let's give 2 players to watch for each Texas and Bama. And let's not give, of course, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, those are 2. Let's leave those out of it. But pretty much anyone else is fair game. I'll start it off with Alabama. I'm watching Dallas Turner. How much pressure can he bring onto Quinn Ewers? I mean, last year, wasn't Dallas Turner the one that injured him?
He's the one that got the AC joint last year.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that again this offseason. I'm surprised it wasn't called roughing the passer. I don't think it was a malicious hit, but he put all his body weight on. In the NFL, it definitely would have been roughing the passer.
But how can you, when you're in the air?
No, I agree.
My thing is, when
agree
you're in the
100%.
air, if you guys remember this hit, if you're think about yourself as a 6'4", 265-pound college football linebacker. When you're hitting a quarterback and you're in the air, it's so hard not to put your body weight on him. I mean,
because all you want to do is bring him down.
If you can't control it, I feel like it shouldn't be a penalty, and refs should kind of have that feeling.
Anyway,
we'll stick right there with your Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner, the number 1 outside linebacker for Alabama. How does he play against these offensive tackles? And I don't know how he does in the run game. I know he's a beast of a pass rusher. So I'm super excited to watch him against these Texas offensive tackles.
So I'm going to throw it right back at you. How does Dallas Turner go against the guy I'm highlighting, Kelvin Banks, the right tackle for Texas? Dallas typically, obviously Dallas and Braswell will swap out from left to right side, but typically you're going to see Dallas at that right side, which is going to be Kelvin Banks' side. So that's going to be best on best. Bama and Texas going at it. We'll see which one prevails. But Kelvin Banks got a lot of praise this offseason, deservingly so. Obviously, I know you and me were talking about it yesterday. The Texas O-line really struggled against Rice. How much do you buy into that, though? I mean, so it'll be interesting. I think this game is going to be won in the trenches on the Texas O-line and the Alabama D-line. Which one is going to be the one that disrupts the other one from playing? Because if Texas can control the line of scrimmage in this game and give Quinn Ewers 3-4 seconds to throw in the pocket every time, they are going to dismantle Alabama, and it might could get ugly.
Yeah.
But if Bama can get some pressure on him, some get in his face, some hurries, maybe even a few sacks, I think this is going to tremendously sway the game towards Alabama's way.
And you mentioned this game being won in the trenches. I 100% agree. But if you can steal away some plays, some chunk plays, I think that's going to come a long way into helping whoever wins. So one of my players to watch, the last one for Bama, is Terrion Arnold. Do you know if he's playing star or is he playing?
Well,
outside
so
this game?
if Malachi Moore plays in this game, Malachi Moore will be playing star, so Tyrion will be playing outside. But if Malachi does not play, or if Malachi is not in the game, you'll see Tyrion moved into star, and you'll see Trey Amos, the transfer from Louisiana, who everyone on Alabama is very high on and very confident in. He'll move out to that outside spot.
Okay, let me switch this player to just y'all's star, whoever's in that position, because that's where Xavier Worthy lines up. And I'll go ahead and say he's my first player to watch for Texas. Pretty much just that matchup between their slot receiver and the star DB. Interested to see how that goes, because if Xavier Worthy can get 3 receptions for 20 yards each and they start moving the ball, that makes it a lot easier to run the ball whenever your receivers are having success, especially against a superior D tackles than they'll face this year for the most part. So I'm excited to see how that matchup goes. Xavier Worthy, I have him over 820 receiving yards this year. So I'm hoping for a big game from him.
Yeah.
Hope he goes for 200.
He's a great receiver. One of the best in college football, no doubt. Maybe the best in the slot, unless you want to talk about one of those Ohio State cats. But I'm going to counter you with that, and I'm going to go an Alabama receiver, or I'm going to go an Alabama pass catcher. I'm going to go tight end Amari Niblack. We saw him with a 40-something yard touchdown catch last week from Jalen Milroe in the left corner of the end zone. He is a mismatch nightmare, and I think that we're definitely going to have to utilize the tight end position in this game if we have a chance to win. And he's the guy that's going to go out and catch you a few passes and lengthen the field a little bit. He can line up at the receiver spot, kind of similar to Brock Bowers. Obviously,
whoa, now don't just throw that out there.
Obviously,
don't just throw that out there.
Hold on. Obviously, not the same as Brock Bowers. Obviously,
I get what you mean.
But he's used in a similar way. And so far, I love the way that we were scheming. Alabama fans, I think the last 2 or 3 years are used to, all right, Cam Latu, you're going to be the only tight end on the field. You line up. And if we're going to go, if it's a close yardage situation, we're going to put Robbie Utes in as H-back. What we saw last week, we saw multiple 2-3 tight end sets. We saw Utes out there at the tight end spot, and we saw him at the H-back spot. We saw Dupree and Lewis on the field at the same time. Niblack and Dupree. Niblack and Lewis. I really loved what I saw. I loved all the stacked formations that we ran. And I think that, controlling the line of scrimmage, obviously, as I said, is going to be the deterrent of winning this game. And I think with all those big boys up front, the way we want to run the football, including Jalen Milroe, the way he's going to run the football, I think they'll open it up for him a little bit more this game too in the run game. I think that's a huge for Alabama. So just tight ends in general, but more specifically, what Amari Niblack does for this offense.
And you spoke about the run game. For me, my final players to watch are the Texas D tackles. Bama comes into this game wanting to play murder ball. And like you said, you think they're going to be a second half team. They're going to wear them down.
Right.
Can Texas D tackles stop the run game and make Jalen Milroe beat him with the arm? Because, he played well against MTSU last week. Don't get me wrong. But if he's having to go against athletes and you can't run the ball, I'm putting my faith in Texas. But I do think, in my opinion, I think Alabama's going to be able to run the ball, especially with Jalen Milroe back there. Yeah. It's not just like they're handing the ball off every single time. Your outside linebackers, they got to contain edge and keep Jalen Milroe from breaking out for 40, 50 yards.
Right.
But I'm super excited to see how that goes. I think my padlock stat is if Bama is averaging less than 3 yards a carry, I think Texas wins.
Oh,
actually, let me go less than 3.5. I think anything more than that, it could go either way. And then if they're averaging more than 5, I'm going Bama.
Well, that number also could be inflated typically,
of course,
because of what Jalen Milroe does. We saw last year when he was in the game. Obviously, ran a pretty vanilla game plan for Middle Tennessee State. But we saw last year when he was in the game, especially against Arkansas, he ripped a 70-yard run. Texas A&M, I think he had like 2 60-yard carries. So he can really inflate that number just the way he plays. And if the spy misses their tackle, he's off to the races. So and someone's going to tackle him deep in the secondary, or no one's tackling him at all. So it's different. It's something Alabama fans haven't really seen since Jalen Hurts, and really we didn't even see it to the magnitude of Jalen Hurts. I'd even go back and say Milroe, like Blake Sims-esque player. He might be the best runner in Alabama football history.
I was about to say, I would say y'all have never had a player like this.
He is like I've said, I keep stressing this. Obviously, it was Middle Tennessee State, but if Milroe looks anything like what he did, we could have a big issue on our hands Problems for other college football teams because he is truly, if he can put the passing game in together, he's a unicorn.
Yeah.
Because most of the running quarterbacks, I mean, we even talked about him a little bit on the show. Jeff Sims, not a great passer. Robbie Ashford, horrible passer. So those are probably the two best, I would say, running quarterbacks maybe besides him. If he can put it together in passing, it's going to make it so hard for opposing defenses to figure out how they want to guard out.
Jalen Milroe is Anthony Richardson to me. I would say they're extremely similar runners. Maybe give the edge to Anthony Richardson because I think he's a little bit faster. But Jalen Milroe is bigger. But
Richardson's taller.
Yeah, extremely similar passers though.
Yeah.
Both have good arm talent. I would give the edge to Milroe. Both struggle in accuracy though, and I would give the edge to Milroe. But like I said, both struggle in it. But both really solid runners. I mean, you saw Anthony Richardson taking, 4th overall this year?
Yeah.
Extremely high potential. So do you think Milroe can play his way into a
I've been asked this question. I've been asked,
because,
do you think
Anthony Richardson.
Milroe has, and think about it. Just keep an open mind what I'm about to say. Milroe has all the talent in the world, correct?
Potential, I want to say talent.
I think he's got great talent. The only thing that I think NFL, because we had a lot of talk about this when Justin Fields went into the NFL, and this is obviously a caveat for another time, but when Justin Fields went, what did people say? Like Dan Orlovsky, what did he say about Justin Fields?
He's a running back.
The way that he brought the ball back, was different. Most people, when they throw the ball, they bring it back like this. Justin Fields brought it back like this. And a lot of NFL scouts didn't like the way he did that. Jalen Milroe also has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a unique arm slot. It's kind of high, but the ball looks beautiful coming out of his hands. I mean, it really does look. It's something to witness in person. It really does look beautiful.
I think his draft stock can depend on how Anthony Richardson does this season. Honestly,
I think if Milroe is a first round pick, is the question, and I think Milroe is a first round pick if he is a finalist in New York for the Heisman. That, to me, he's a first round pick if that happens. Because Alabama, obviously, I think is going to have the team. When you win the Heisman, your team has to be good. We saw it last year. I mean, three of the four teams that had a Heisman finalist were in the playoff. Obviously, the one that
and USC was in the hunt though.
Yeah, USC was in the hunt.
If they wouldn't have choked against you.
And Caleb Williams won it. So obviously, your team winning matters. And obviously, Alabama's going to be in that situation towards the end of the year. We're either talking 10-2 or better, probably.
Yeah.
So. Milroe's got a shot. If he can hold on to the job all year, if he plays well tomorrow, that's going to be a great step forward for him going into week 3, obviously playing USF. So, but I would say my last player to watch, obviously, guy we haven't talked about really, Quinn Ewers. I think this quarterback matchup favors Texas, in all honesty. Mainly because we still don't really know what we're getting from Milroe, but Quinn Ewers, was a perfect recruit, great thrower of the football.
1.0.
Has a different doesn't really have a spiral. It's kind of a floppy, almost like Peyton Manning pass, but it works. And, last year, obviously, I think Alabama fans saw what he was capable of. I was pretty scared in that stadium until he got hurt, until Dallas Turner went and hunted the AC joint down. But I'll be honest, a lot of Texas fans want to say, well, what happened if Colt wouldn't have gotten hurt? Well, to that I say Alabama still would have won. Last year, what happened if Quinn didn't get hurt? Well, Texas probably would have won that game if Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt.
100%.
And that's nothing against Hudson Card. He's a fine quarterback, having a good season.
It is
having a good season at Purdue.
Hudson Card is not that good.
I think he's fine.
Is good.
But Quinn Ewers is much better than Hudson Card. I think we all can say that. He struggled a little bit against Rice. So Alabama's really going to have to bring some pressure to get in his head early. Specifically Dallas Turner, I feel like, because Quinn Ewers, in the back of his head, he knows I got banged up pretty bad last year in this game. I was out 4 or 5 weeks because of that guy right there, number 15. And the last thing I want to do is a repeat of that. The last thing my team wants is a repeat of that.
What I'm curious is, and of course we're not going to get an answer to this, but does he have any, I don't want to say PTSD, but does he have any lingering mental, just thoughts about what happened last year? Are there any worries for him? Like if he sees 15 off the edge winning his reps since he's going off the right.
Yeah.
If he sees him winning his rep, does he get a little bit more worried as if it was Chris Braswell?
I'll tell you guys.
I don't know.
if I saw 15 and 41 coming off the edge, I'm laying down. There's no way I'm taking a pancake hit. But another possible, two other storylines in this game. Jalen Milroe, obviously from the heart of Texas, grew up an hour and a half away from UT Austin. Was a Texas fan his whole life. Recently he was talking about how huge Vince Young fan as a kid. His first college football jersey was a Vince Young jersey. Almost every family member of his is a Texas fan.
Oh wow!
So he was even committed to Texas. He decommitted from Texas to commit to Alabama back in 2019.
Wow!
So obviously a big game for him personally. And then the star Texas running back, who we haven't really seen much of, obviously because he's a freshman. C.J. Baxter is listed as questionable for this game.
Did not know that.
Possibly not going to play, but he didn't even lead their team in carries last week. Jaden Blue did. I expect Baxter to play. How much he plays, I know he's banged up a little bit. How much he plays, how many carries he gets, to be determined. But they've got 3 running backs they really like, so they'll probably keep a fresh guy in there. But yeah, it's going to be Texas. I wrote a story on this actually yesterday for WVUA 23. Texas is supposedly bringing anywhere between 100 to 125,000 fans from UT Austin, and that's not even counting the Alabama fans currently in Tuscaloosa, and then the Alabama fans traveling into Tuscaloosa. The quad is packed. I know you haven't been down the quad yet, but there's literally almost no room for grass. There's just tents everywhere. It's really insane. Really,
that's why I came to Tuscaloosa this weekend.
It's going to be a great atmosphere. I wanted to see the atmosphere. I think me and Jake might go down here in about an hour and a half and go watch Pat McAfee's show on the quad possibly. We'll see about that. We'll see if we have time for that. But yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great atmosphere, a great weekend. Something that the University of Alabama hasn't seen since Ed Ogeron brought in that 2019 national champion LSU team. Obviously, that was one of the best football games I think I've ever watched. Even though Alabama lost, it'll go down in the history books as one of the greatest games. And the president was there for that. I doubt Joe Biden's here this weekend for the Texas game, so bummer. But I don't think Alabama fans would take too well to that anyway. So we'll get off that topic. Do
you want to predict this game now?
A 7-point line. Yeah, let's predict it now. You start off since you've got really no stake in this game, so you start off.
Yeah, no stake at all. I just want to see a great game and Xavier Worthy go off. That's all I want to do. So the line's 7?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, line is 7. I'm going to go Texas to cover, but Bama to win.
Okay.
Like I said, I
Score.
think do what?
The score.
Oh, score? I think it's going to be decently high scoring, but not anything too crazy. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say 34-31.
Okay.
34-31. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Texas plays well. I think Bama plays well. But I mean, they're at home and it's a night game for Bama. Bama has night games every single weekend, it seems like. Anyway, not talking about that again. But it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Texas, let's see how well they can handle the noise. But I just think that Alabama's roster is too talented for a team like Texas. I mean, I think people are too high on Texas. But they're a good team. I'm excited for this game.
I'll put it in perspective for you guys. Alabama's got, I think it's a 20 or 21 game home win streak. Last time we lost was 2019 LSU. Think about the teams that have come into Tuscaloosa and beaten and knocked off Alabama in Nick Saban's tenure. 2019 LSU, right? You've got 2015 Ole Miss. Obviously not the most talented team, but a lot went right for Ole Miss that night. I was here. Only game I've ever seen Alabama lose in person was the 2015 Ole Miss Alabama game. Johnny Football and Cam Newton. So, I mean, you've got 3 Heisman winners, right?
You forgot one in 2007.
2007. Oh, Matthew Stafford. But 2007.
No. Sorry, was it 2009?
Who was 2009?
Louisiana Lafayette.
ULM was 2007.
So it was Louisiana
Monroe beat Alabama in 2007, Saban's first year. But I was 5 years old. But anyway, when Saban's had all his guys in, we've been going through the dynasty. 3 of the 4 teams that beat us had Heisman winners on their team. So if Texas beats us this year, first off, I would put a lot of money on either Quinn Ewers or Xavier Worthy to win the Heisman, because usually that's what's going to happen. And secondly, it takes a huge, valiant effort to beat Alabama on the road. I mean, I like you said, I think Alabama's talent will just overshine Texas in this game. I think that the home atmosphere, something to Alabama fans, and I've always talked about how I hate how Alabama fans are so conceited and spoiled. I would definitely say I'm spoiled, but I go for 4 and I stay for 4.
I mean, like you said, the start of your dynasty was when you were 5 years old.
Yeah,
so they're definitely spoiled.
Yeah, so
our dynasty started when I was
all I've known as a kid was championships.
Our dynasty started when I was 19.
I've witnessed 6 national championships in my 21 years of life. I think Alabama wins. I think Alabama covers. We got Alabama 35-24 over Texas. At halftime, my score is 17-14 Texas. So I think Texas scores a touchdown in the second half, but I think Alabama storms back and scores 3 to win the game.
I kind of like.
I like Jalen Milroe to have a really good game. Probably 250 yards passing, 100 yards rushing. And I'm really excited to see our running backs going up against their defensive line, our offensive line. We've talked about on this show. We've seen and heard about how physical this O-line is. I want to see them use that physicality this weekend. But with that, previews are done.
Let's jump into our updated top 25s. There's some shaking in here, some movement. Some people left, some people joined.
Let's start at 25.
Yeah, I'll go 25 through 21. I got Arkansas, UCLA, Colorado, UCF, Duke. And I believe potentially all 5 of those teams are new. Maybe not UCF. I mean, all those teams. Pretty much 20 through 25. You can have a number of teams. I do think if Clemson played probably 4 of these teams right now, they would win. The only one not being Duke. But, I don't know. I think these teams are good. I think they can all make some noise. They can all make some noise in their conference, except for Arkansas, really. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I think after this week, some are going to get bumped out, potentially Colorado if they lose. Some are going to rise up past 20.
Yeah. Funny thing, I actually do not have Colorado in my top 25.
Really?
I'm holding them out. I want to see how they played this week. If they win this week, I'll put them in. What's that?
What? Go ahead and give your 25.
Okay, so 25 through 21. I'll just give you a little refresher for what I had a couple weeks ago. I had UCF, Kentucky, Washington State, Iowa, TCU. Obviously, TCU's fell out, and with Iowa's terrible performance against Utah State, I dropped them out as well.
I told you Iowa was not good.
So 25 through 21 for me is going to be 25 is Oregon State. I really loved what DJU. I really liked what DJU did. He looked great. I mean, he looked better than Clemson. Washington State 24, good old Wazoo. 23 Kentucky, 22 UCF, and 21 Kansas State.
I'm not mad that you have Oregon State in your top 25. They weren't in it last week, and they're only 25 for you. Yeah. They're better. 24, you have Washington State, and they're better than them.
I'm high on Washington State. I really like what Cam Ward's doing. I think Washington State's going to be that's my sleeper team in the Pac-12.
All these teams Oregon State would beat. If they went and played right now, they would beat every single.
See, I'm a lot higher on UCF too. I'm a lot higher on UCF too, and I also think Kansas State's going to make some noise.
DJU played really well. I know it was San Jose.
Good.
It was San Jose State, but still.
But that's an offense that he can thrive in. The way that they run the ball, and they've got some weapons at receiver too.
Clemson fans should say sorry to him and his family.
They really should, because even in his freshman year, when he wasn't the starter and took over for Trevor Lawrence, he won that. Did they? No, they lost to Notre Dame that year. Did they? I don't know, but he looked very good in that Notre Dame game. I remember that. I think DJU has all the talent in the world. I think it's more of coaching, and I think coaching really failed him. I think Dabo really did fail him at Clemson.
No, 100%. And so with my 20 through 16, I got Tulane, Ole Miss, one of the matchups of the week. Okay. Tulane, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Kansas State.
I don't mind that, yeah.
North Carolina was one of the teams. I can't remember what I had them last week, but I want to say it was around 25-24.
Yeah.
They impressed me a lot from this past week.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. But if that defense can be any resemblance, if they can be half of what they were against South Carolina, they can be a force to reckon with in the ACC and have a potential to win it as well.
So a few teams from my 20 to 16 that fell out. South Carolina completely out of my rankings. Looked awful against North Carolina. So South Carolina out. North Carolina's going to be in this part. Obviously, Kansas State, I dropped them a little bit. But my 20 through 16 is going to be, starting at 20, Clemson, LSU, Texas A&M into the top 25, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma looked great. Obviously, Arkansas State, big Butch Jones guy. Hated to see him crying on the sideline like that. But, oh yeah. Did you not see that clip?
No. But I'm happy he was crying.
You got to go look at that clip.
Wait.
There's a clip where Oklahoma's up 73-0, and Butch is on the sideline, like, doing like this, and the player, like, comes up and, like, pats him on the back. I was like, oh, dude, I love Butch Jones, but...
why do you love Butch Jones? He's awful. I know he was...
He's just a great dude. He was a great dude. I mean... but like we were talking about on our show earlier this week, North Carolina's defense looked great. Yeah. Obviously, complete flip of what they did last year. And we've talked about this and how much I believe Texas A&M is going to flip the script this year. I think that they're super talented.
That's an awful
and we'll see how they do against Miami this week. I have them winning the game.
That's a terrible team.
Obviously, LSU and Clemson both lost, so they're going to drop there.
Wait, so do you have Duke ranked?
I do not have Duke.
Why do you have Clemson at 20 and Duke unranked?
Because I still think Clemson is going to end up being a better team than Duke by the end of the year.
So is this your projections for the future?
Well, that's how I've been doing my top 25. It's just best teams. This is best teams. Yeah.
I mean, Duke is a better team than Clemson. I think they proved that. That game wasn't really.
It wasn't.
I mean, it was close.
But
don't get me wrong.
Clemson made some boneheaded plays. I mean, being down on the 1 yard line and fumbling.
I would 100%
touchdown.
They definitely did make boneheaded mistakes.
That game could have been a lot closer.
But Duke did as well. That's the thing. Clemson's one touchdown came when they took the ball over at the 18-yard line because of a muff punt. So, like, it wasn't mistakes without... Because that's typically what you see. I think it was when Ole Miss came into Bama in 2015 or whatever. Bama had, like, 5 turnovers. Yeah. That's when you see an upset, that's typically how it is. They always win the turnover battle. Yeah. It's boneheaded mistakes. It's when Georgia played South Carolina, Jake Fromm had 3 interceptions. That's not how that game went. They both had turnovers, and Clemson's 1 touchdown came on an extremely short field.
And obviously, I think coaching has something to do with it. I think players have something to do with it. But at the same time, Clemson has no, and I mean 0 talent on the outside. I mean, it's Cade Klubnik versus
Antonio Williams is decent, but
Will Shipley's I think he's a good college football running back. He's good, but
Will Shipley's back is going to be broken by the end of the year.
Yeah, and Cade Klubnik, I feel so bad for the guy, honestly. I mean, DJU may have more weapons at Oregon State than Clemson does, which is kind of insane to think. But you know what I love? I'm going to go on a little rant here. I love how Paul Feinbaum is just the declarer of dynasties being over. He's declared it for Clemson. He's declared it for Alabama.
Takes.
His takes are the worst. I mean, he has no bearing in whatsoever. I mean, he's just trash. So, and absolute fraud. So and he's going to be here this weekend.
Is that just because he said Alabama's dynasty is over?
Well, I mean,
why you hate him?
What did he get off his success on? Having a radio show in Birmingham and feeding off the Alabama fans and the Auburn fans. And as soon as Alabama loses to Georgia, it's like the rails have completely fallen off the track. I mean, I don't know. I just think and I don't know who made him the declarer of dynasties being dead. Obviously, I don't think the Clemson take is that bad of a take. I definitely think that if Dabo used his resources, if Dabo actually used the transfer portal, they would be really good. But he hasn't adapted to the way college football is.
I mean, who knows if they actually do? But let's say they recruit and get Keon Coleman, wide receiver who went off for FSU from.
I mean, how big of a difference is that? I mean,
they probably win that game.
Yeah.
So with that being said, my 15 through 11, I got Utah, Oregon State, Texas, LSU, Oregon. I mean, you see Texas there at 13. AP has them at 11. Texas hasn't proven anything. I mean, I know they struggled against Rice week 1, and the difference between the teams all above them, all of them played well last year. And so you can look at their week 1 games, like Georgia didn't play that well, Michigan didn't play that well, Penn State didn't play amazing, Ohio State didn't play amazing. They were all good last year. And so you can say, like, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt. Texas went 8-5 last year. What are they going to say? We're going to be back. We're going to return to what we were last year. If you return to what you were last year, you suck.
And we'll save this argument because you know where I have Texas. But
it's awful.
My 15 through 11, Utah at 15, Washington, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, and USC. I do have Ole Miss in my top 12. I'm very high on the Rebels this year. I'm very high on the Rebels. I think they could beat any of those teams that are listed behind them. Utah, obviously, when Cam Rising gets back, I mean, they could be off for the races.
Wait.
Washington with Penix looked great. With Dunze, obviously, I had Penix on the under, and we'll get to our best bets here soon. But yeah.
Why do you have Wisconsin at 13?
I think Wisconsin's a great team. I really do. I think they're going to have a great season.
They struggled against Buffalo.
They're going to be fine. Wisconsin, it's everybody, please remember, it was week 1. Everyone's got some kinks they got to work out. So
exactly like I said, all these teams, even Texas, what was Wisconsin's record last year? Like 6-6 in the...
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I can tell you they sucked.
Well, I can
and
tell
they
you
still
that
suck.
they have a completely different coach with a completely different
I
offensive
agree.
philosophy.
They have an amazing coach.
A good quarterback.
And I think...
A great running back.
Yeah.
They've got all the tools. They just got to put it together. It's the first year.
Outside of them. They have like no one.
They always have a good defense.
So they
always have a good defense.
I will say...
I'll be honest. I don't know how many weapons they have, but... I mean, in the Big Ten West, how many do you need?
Yeah, I'm gonna be fair.
They're
going to be in my top 25 next year.
I think they win their. I think they win their division this year.
That's
pretty,
not exactly
pretty easy.
hard. Purdue went 8-4 and won it last year.
Yeah, so we'll find out. But yeah, I like Wisconsin. I think they're going to be fine. I think they'll be fine.
With my 10 through 6, I got Notre Dame, Tennessee, Ohio State at 8, Washington at 7, USC at 6. I mean, the biggest surprise there being Ohio State. And like I said, this isn't... Sutton and I do our list kind of differently. He kind of projects towards the end. I go, if you play on a neutral site field right now, who's winning that game? And with how bad Ohio State played against Indiana. And I know, I mean, their defense played well, but it was Indiana. I mean, Kyle McCord looked bad. He looked really bad. I mean, and Marvin Harrison... I don't know what happened. Marvin Harrison had 2 catches for 18 yards. That doesn't worry me at all. Marvin Harrison still head and shoulders the best receiver in college football.
Not even close.
But if Kyle McCord can't get him the football, he can't really be the best receiver.
Well, then your question goes, is Kyle McCord the one that's going to be throwing in the football next week?
So, wait, actually, let me change this. If that's how I'm doing it, Ohio State is my number 9 team, and I got Tennessee at 8.
Well... we had Notre Dame both at 10. I also had them. So I'm going to go 10 through 6.
Like the only one we agree on. That number 1.
We both had someone else, and we had Utah at 15. Notre Dame at 10, Tennessee at 9, Oregon at 8, Penn State at 7, and Florida State at 6. We talked about Florida State a ton last week, and there's really not much left to be said. Yeah. Penn State, I mean... I think that they could end up by the end of the year. If they knock off Michigan, I think they're a better team than Ohio. Could be a better team than Ohio State. I have Ohio State ranked a little bit higher just because of the talent they've got on offense. But if they keep continuing with the struggles with quarterback, I mean, I trust Drew Aller more than I trust either one of those 100%. Quarterbacks at Ohio State right now. And to be completely honest, I like Drew Aller better than I like J.J. McCarthy. So I think he's a lot more talented.
I agree with that. I'm going with J.J. McCarthy.
I think McCarthy, but McCarthy's experience helps him out, and plus I like the duo a little bit better at running back for Michigan, just a little bit. I like Katron Allen and I like Singleton. They're great. But
end of the season, I'm changing my mind. Right now, I have them just because of experience again. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, freshman, but they are a whole lot more talented than Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards.
Donovan Edwards is a great running back, though. I like okay. Edwards might be more talented than Corum.
I don't know. They're both.
But
if they weren't on Michigan, they would just be other players somewhere.
I mean, you're talking about Oregon. I mean, absolutely bulldozed Portland State.
What was it, 81-7?
They're going into Lubbock. Obviously, Lubbock's kind of in a win now or go home mode. Them losing in double overtime to Wyoming last week.
Sad.
So Texas Tech really needs a great game. And I think Bo Nix, as much as I hate to say it, it's probably a Heisman favorite going into the season. Tennessee, obviously Milton didn't look great. That's kind of hurting my heart. Well, not really hurting my heart a little bit because I hate Tennessee. But, I mean, he's my Heisman pick. So we'll see how he progresses as the year goes on.
That was a bad pick. And
then Notre Dame has just looked, I mean, outstanding since Sam Hartman's been there. It's like they're on a different level. I love Sam Hartman. I think he's a great quarterback. They've got NC State this week, who's going into NC State. It's not an easy place to win. Obviously, I think Notre Dame will and cover probably. But, yeah.
I'm going to reserve all my judgment for Sam Hartman and how Notre Dame plays until they play Ohio State.
Yeah.
Of course, I think Sam Hartman's a good QB, but we'll
see.
You
know that USC Notre Dame game is going to be high scoring because it'll be a Caleb Williams and Sam Hartman going at it.
Finally, my 5 through 1, again, who wins on a neutral site right now? I got Bama at 5, Penn State 4, Michigan 3, FSU 2, Georgia 1. FSU, Penn State. I'm extremely high on them. My grandpa's an FSU fan. My roommate's a huge Penn State fan. Penn State's probably my second favorite team this year. I picked them to go to the playoff.
Brandon Walker.
Eventually, Is he at Penn State?
He picked Penn State to win the national championship this year.
I mean, I had them going to play Georgia in the first round of the playoffs, and so of course probably losing. But I mean, you just hit on it. Penn State, huge. Drew Aller gonna have a huge season. Their running backs, and they have a lot of people on that defense. Chop Robinson, Abdul Carter, Kalen King. They're talented, and so I mean, I think if they play Ohio State on a neutral field right now, they win by 10 to 14.
Okay.
Michigan, it could be close to, and FSU. I mean, we've sung their praises.
That. Yeah.
I mean, they had the most impressive win of the season so far. Looked good against LSU. Kind of blew them out. I think
really good.
The game was closer than the score indicates. I think I said that on our show, but I mean, they still looked really good.
As an Alabama fan, you love seeing that secondary get exposed.
Of course, you have Georgia at number 1.
Yeah.
Anyway, so go on with your bad.
So
top
my
5.
number 4 team is a team that he not think should be in the top 4. But before, I want to explain to our audience my reasoning, and then you can react. So just give me the floor for
a second.
You got
it. I don't know.
All right, 5 through 1. Ohio State, Texas at number 4, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia. So my top 3 stays the same. Reasoning for having Texas up this high is obviously, like I said, I could see potential. I've got them as the Big 12 champion this year. If they only lose to Alabama this week, or if they beat Alabama and then just lose one more game down the road, I think they're probably a playoff team.
Wait, by going 10-2?
I said if they don't lose to Alabama.
Oh, sorry.
So if
I
they go
heard
like 11-1.
Okay.
If they go 11-1 and they're in the playoff and they win their conference, they're in the playoff. Obviously, we were just talking about it. I think their talent on offense is something to be reckoned with. I think they're, if not, probably the second best offense or second or third best offense in college football, in my opinion. You could even argue that they're the best offense, the way Ohio State's been.
You could.
I mean, obviously Ohio State's missing one piece on their offense, which is quarterback play. And then obviously a little bit, because I have them at 5, I'll talk about them for a second. Obviously their tackles, they are replacing both tackles. Both guys got drafted in the first round. So a little bit of unsteady ground there for Ohio State. But, I mean, if Texas can shore up the O-line, we know what they have at receiver. We know they're probably the second best receiver room in the country. Very youthful at the running back spot, but very talented. One of the best quarterback rooms in the country. So if something was to happen to Quinn Ewers, yes, it wouldn't be what they want, but Malik Murphy and Arch Manning are more than capable backups. And then go to the defense. They're very experienced on defense. I think a point that they're not as great at is at linebacker. Losing Overshone was a big deal to them. I'm excited to see how they're going to rush the passer this weekend. Obviously, they've got a good D-line, an experienced D-line, but I want to see those edge guys and how the linebackers and maybe how they disguise some blitzes on defense. But I think they're one of the most talented teams in the country. To me, they're a top 5 team in terms of talent. And I could definitely see them at the end of the year being in play for a playoff spot. That's why I have them so high. I do think if they were to play Ohio State right now on a neutral field, they'd win. I think if they were to play Florida State right now on a neutral field, it'd be very close, but I trust those receivers to go out and win them the game.
In my opinion, I have 12 teams they go out play in, let's say, North Dakota right now that they go lose.
I think it's insane that you got LSU beating Texas.
LSU
that's crazy.
LSU didn't play awful against FSU. I mean, that was a one possession game going into the.
They have no pulse in their secondary. That's my problem, and that's where's Texas.
I mean, but like I said, it was a one possession game going into the 10th minute of the fourth quarter, and so I mean FSU at 6, but I mean. The state of Texas must be shipping out water to the rest of the United States, and that's what they're drinking. Because I mean, I don't know why people are so high on Texas, so high on A&M. Every single team, people were high on Baylor before they lost to Texas State. I
was not high on Baylor at all.
Yeah, but look where you're Texas. Never mind. Anyway, yeah. Is that done? Are we done with top 25?
We're done with top 25.
That was awful.
I don't think it's that bad, guy. I mean, obviously it's my picks, but I'll tell you what is bad. Best bets. Best bets are bad. Best bets have not been good at all.
Next show, we're gonna come back with a different name for it because
we might just call it bets.
Just bets. Maybe worse bets if this week goes how last week.
Yeah.
Went. So actually, last week I didn't do awful. I went 6 for 9. So
yeah, you had a good week.
Yeah, especially compared to the week before. We completely swapped. The week before, I went 1.
No, I went the same as I did.
The week before, I went 1 for 8. It was awful.
Yeah.
And then 6 for 9 last week. So not a strong showing. 3 for 9 last week.
Yeah. Hey, I'm batting 333, man.
If that's how you want to use it. So right now, if you look at it, I have a 41% hit rate. You have a 35% chance. So pretty abysmal for both.
Obviously, last week, the only ones that, what are the ones I hit last week? I hit the West Virginia covering. I hit the Oregon State cover, and then I also hit Romeo Dunze on the over. My lock of the week last week was the UMass Auburn game, and Auburn put up a lot more points than I thought they would.
I had Auburn picked, and then you were talking so confidently, and I was like, he knows something.
I thought I did. And then Louisville absolutely looked abysmal against Georgia Tech. So I was like, what the heck's going on here? And then Alabama played a lot better than I expected. Michael Penix, obviously, a lot better. And then North Carolina's defense actually showed up with a pulse, and DeCarrion Joyner didn't get over 50 yards. But it's a new week.
Yeah,
and I've got a good headspace about it. So
let's go. I'll take one game. You take the game after, and we'll do that until we're done with games, and then we'll go to player props.
Sweet.
My number one game, I got Notre Dame at NC State. Notre Dame minus 7.5. I don't know where this line is now. I made these. I think it was Monday, potentially Tuesday. Yeah. So these lines have definitely shifted, but this is what it was when I looked at it. And if I was putting money into it, obviously, as you can see from my 41% hit rate, I don't put my money into this. If I was, I would have put this in on Monday.
We'd be losing then.
Notre Dame, I mean, you said it, NC State, decently tough place to play, but not the worst in the world. Yeah. And Notre Dame's looked good this year. NC State has not. Yeah. I don't know. I think they have Brennan Armstrong out there at QB. Yep. Virginia transfer. Yep. Not the greatest QB in the world. I just think their team is okay. I mean, they're not the best in any area.
Fine.
And I think I think this game is going to be decently close, but 7.5 is just too close for me.
Yeah.
I think it might be a one-possession game going into the fourth, but Notre Dame kind of takes it away with their talent and their roster. So I have Notre Dame covering 7.5.
I'm going to double down on that. I feel the same exact way.
All right, perfect.
All right, so my first game and my lock of the week is coincidentally also the Auburn Tigers. Auburn is a 6.5.
Stop saying that.
I know. Auburn is a 6.5 point favorite over Cal. They're traveling to Cal. That game is going to be coming on right after the Alabama-Texas game at 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 Eastern Time. So that's a late one. Pac-12 after dark, but Auburn in the mix. I got the line at 6.5. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm going to take Auburn to cover this week. As much as I hate to do it, nothing more than I would love to see them go out and lose to Cal, but I think they're just a much better football team. Cal sucks.
Yeah, I'll double down with you.
So I think Auburn covers. Yeah.
Cal's not a good team at all.
Yeah.
I'll have Auburn covering 6.5. I mean, it's not like playing at Cal is going to be extremely hard. It's not going to be loud probably. So I have them covering as well. My next game is Utah at Baylor. Utah minus 7. Again, Baylor hyped up so much. Don't really know why. It wasn't super hyped.
Hey, and their quarterback's not playing this game.
Yeah, Blake Shapen isn't playing. People had him as top 25 team. Got upset by Texas State. Was that
Texas State? TJ Finley.
Got upset by
helmet
Texas.
Sticker.
Got upset by Texas State. So I don't know why this line is super close. I actually have no clue if Cam Rising's playing or not. But Utah looked decent against Florida. I think especially with that inexperienced QB now having a little bit of experience against the SEC team, he comes out, plays well. Utah covers, probably wins by 21 in my mind.
I will double down on that as well. I also agree.
This is scaring me that we're making the same picks.
My second game is going to be UCF versus Boise State. UCF is a 3.5 point favorite when I got it. I've got UCF covering very high on the Golden Knights this year.
Boise?
It's at Boise, so playing on the blue field. But I trust John Rice Plumlee. I think he's a great quarterback. So I trust him to go out there and win the game and win by probably a touchdown or two. So I'm going to pick UCF to cover the 3.5 and win the game.
It looks like we're going to have all the same bets this week because I'm going UCF 3.5 too. I mean, again, I don't think this game is extremely close. Boise didn't play Washington close at all. I think they lost by 40.
Yeah.
Washington's a great team. I have them ranked as my number 7 team. Don't get me wrong. But UCF is also a top 25 team. Boise, probably going to get destroyed.
Possibly.
I have A&M Miami as one of my best bets. This one actually, I can't decide.
It's a little scary. It's a little scary of a bet.
I think this one would be my second lock of the week. My lock of the week is coming next. But I have A&M -4. Like I said, I don't think Miami's good at all. I don't think A&M. I think A&M could be good. I don't think they're bad. I think Miami's bad. They have good safeties. Outside of that, I don't know what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Van Dyke was good in 2021. He's not good anymore. I mean, they beat Miami of Ohio 38-3 last week. Good for them. This week, going up against a better team. Who won last year? Do you know? I remember. Yeah. A&M won 17-9. Neither team wanted to win that game. So I think A&M comes out with something to prove. Wins handily.
Yeah.
Covers -4.
I don't think they'll win handily. I think this game will be a lot closer. But I've got A&M covering the -4 as well. Obviously, they're snuck into my top 25 this week. Wow. So yeah. But go ahead with your last game. I'm done with mine. So.
My last game, lock of the week: Oregon at Texas Tech. Oregon -6.5. Oregon looked elite last week. Bo Nix looked like a potential Heisman winner. Texas Tech actually looked the exact opposite, getting upset at Wyoming. Granted, they didn't get destroyed like Baylor did. They lost in double overtime.
Yeah.
But when I get it. Oregon's going to Lubbock, but I don't know who Texas Tech has. They were getting
Tyler Shuck, former starting quarterback at Oregon, is the Texas Tech starting quarterback.
Oh, that's bad. But they were getting extreme hype as a dark horse to win the Big 12. So I don't know why. I have Oregon covering. Again, I feel like I've said this every time. I have them winning handily, probably by 20, 21. I think it's not really going to be pretty. So.
Yeah, and I'll double down on that. Me and Jake make it easy for everybody. We've got the same picks.
All the same picks.
Going in for games. And let's see what we've got for players. I'm going to start off with Connor Wegman of Texas A&M. Kind of keep it there. Right now on Prize Picks, you can get him. He's got 1.5 passing touchdowns. If you can go under or over, I'm going over. I think he's going to throw for at least 2 touchdowns against Miami. So he looked great in week 1, so I expect him to kind of continue that going into week 2. So
sorry, what'd you say?
Connor Wegman over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
I mean, Miami has a good secondary. Yeah. I'll hit the over with you.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll have the same picks again. I'm gonna go Travis Hunter. Actually, let me give you your second one. I want to.
Yeah. So my second one, all these players I have you can find these on Prize Picks, but passing and rushing yards for Jalen Milroe on Saturday, 262.5 total passing and rushing yards combined. I'm going the over. I think he's gonna pass, like I said, for around 250, and I think he could run for around 100. So I think he kind of I wouldn't say he beats it easily, because necessarily I think I may be a little high on his performance on Saturday, obviously, as a Bama fan. But I do think he gets over 262.5 total. The way he rushes the ball, he doesn't take as many sacks as most quarterbacks would, just because of how shifty he is in the back. And I think he's an underrated passer, so I'm going to go with the over again.
I think this is dependent on if he breaks off any runs.
Yeah.
And my take is, if Alabama is losing and struggling and can't run the ball, he's going to hit the over. If they can run the ball, he's going to go under. And I think Bama isn't going to have much of an issue running the ball too much. I think they're going to key him a little bit too much and keep him contained, because they've definitely been emphasizing that in meetings this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to have him going under, not much. And I don't think he plays too poorly.
How do you think he plays?
I think he plays okay. I think he runs the ball really well, but I mean, whenever he's going up against Power 5 athletes at the cornerback position, they don't have 3 yards of separation and are 5 inches taller than the DBs. He's going to be forced to throw a little bit better. And he dropped dimes last week, but against MTSU. And I don't know what goes into the mindset of these quarterbacks. But I feel like it makes it easier to throw the ball when you see how not wide open, but when you see them have 3 yards of separation as opposed to a foot of separation. Because like his throws, they would have been on the money. But if you have a DB draped over a wide receiver, I feel like that makes it harder to throw the ball, just in for their mindset. So I don't have him performing exactly amazing, but I think he can get the job done. Just doesn't hit that line. Just because I think they're going to key him too much in the run game, and he's not going to have that many rush yards.
So the first one we all agree on.
Yeah, I think that's going to open up. So whatever the running backs overs are, I would hammer those because I think it's going to open them up.
Well, I don't think they're going to really put overs for our running backs just because it's kind of by committee. But
yeah, no, 100%. So this one's interesting. I'll give my. So this one's going to go under my best bet. I have Travis Hunter over 63.5 receiving yards. Would you have that?
Excuse me. Sorry. I would. Yeah, I think.
So now let's change it. Right now on Prize Picks, it's Travis Hunter 73.5. So people have been hammering the over. It's gone up 10 yards.
10 yards.
I still have.
How much is 10 yards though? Really?
I mean, it could be 2 passes. Could be 1.
Yeah.
Could be 4.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I mean, I still have the over on this. I mean, Travis Hunter performed really well last week, and especially if they need him this week, they're just going to be giving him the ball every single play. Yeah. So I have him probably over 100 yards this game.
All right, my final Prize Pick player. This player did us really well in week 0. We both picked him in week 0. Will Shepherd, 1 receiving touchdown over. They're going up against Wake Forest this week. He's going to have to step up if they've got a chance to win this game, him and A.J. Swan. As we said, really the only players on the Vanderbilt team.
Pretty much.
We'll see what they can do this week.
Let's keep it with Will Shepherd. I have Will Shepherd over 62.5 receiving yards. Again, it's gone up on Prize Picks 3 yards, but 3 yards isn't too much.
Yeah.
So I still have him over 65.5. I think Will Shepherd has a game. Wake Forest is going to be their first. I know they only beat Hawaii by 7, but I feel like, that was week 0, and I feel like Vandy was just trying to squeak by. I think Vandy's going to be playing from behind a lot this game, so they're going to be forced to try to win.
Dude, my hammy just cramped so bad right here on this.
I was wondering what you were doing.
Holy dude, I kept it together though. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna stand up actually. This is so bad.
The show's almost over anyway.
Oh, it's so bad. Okay, we'll never do this again on the bar stools. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep it there with Jake. I also agree. Will Shepherd over. Dude, you have no idea. My hammy is so tight right now. It's unreal. Okay. I'm done with my players. Do you got any more?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Well, hopefully this week will be better for the bets section that we have, the bets segment.
How many games?
We
have 11.
11 bets. So
let's see how it goes.
Let's go 6. Let's shoot for 6 and 5. Let's shoot for 6 and 5. So we'll see.
I'm shooting for 6 and 5.
But,
let's go 500.
Yeah, maybe. But again, thanks guys for watching. First time we did it in person. Good to have you here, buddy.
It was good.
I enjoy it. So Alabama, Texas, big marquee matchup. We'll nobody cares. We'll figure out what happens, and Sunday we'll be right back at you with another show. So thank you all for watching.
Maybe Monday.
Yeah, maybe Monday. We'll see. We do have first week in NFL this week, so that's back. But again, thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Remember to like, subscribe, and everything.
Go tell your friends about us.
Yeah, big roll tides coming in.
And
this
go
week.
Dogs, baby.